This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
If it weren't for Donald Trump, Israel would have been eviscerated.
We've done a very good job by that particular country.
I think it's about recentering on what a rainbow means.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
What will the weekend bring? Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. It's anyone's guess how things might go in the Middle East, currently under a very uneasy, fragile set of ceasefires, one between the U.S. and Iran, the other between Israel and Iran proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon, though that one was violated as recently as last night.
Hezbollah launched an attack on northern Israel, killing 4 Israeli soldiers in violation of the ceasefire. Israel then launched retaliatory strikes in Lebanon. Recall, a ceasefire in Lebanon was included in the memorandum of understanding Trump signed.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson, President Trump talking about U.S.-Israeli relations on Axios.
If it weren't for Donald Trump, Israel would have been eviscerated. We have to keep him a little bit sane.
Trump's sentiments echoed by Vice President J.D. Vance on the Interesting Times podcast.
We've done a very good job by that particular country and that particular government. And I think that the idea that we've made a terrible deal is not supported by the facts, but just doesn't make any sense if you consider the broad length of the relationship.
But retired Air Force Brigadier General John Teichert tells Fox enough of ganging up on Israel.
They're responding to hundreds of attacks against them just in the 10 weeks of the ceasefire. They're going to continue to do that, and we should support their right of self-defense.
Trump unveiled the new Air Force One this afternoon before heading off to Camp David to strategize on talks with Iran. Next week, Trump will visit a Pennsylvania manufacturing plant. Representative Dan Muser says Trump will speak at the Mack Trucks plant near Allentown on Tuesday afternoon. Another round of heavy downpours across the southeast today, thanks to the remnants of Tropical Storm Arthur. NBC's Priscilla Thompson reports the rain is wreaking havoc in some areas.
Heavy rain soaking the Gulf Coast, triggering rescues in multiple states, including Perkinson, Mississippi, where a trailer park was nearly submerged.
Pretty much we lost everything.
An hour south in Picayune, residents urged to evacuate.
Flash flooding and rising rivers are predicted from Louisiana all the way to the Carolinas. The rise of Ozempic-like medicine for weight loss has triggered a spike in calls to poison control centers for accidental overdoses. A new study at the University of Texas San Antonio found it was mostly due to mistakes by users not used to self-injection.
A lot of people are so used to taking daily pills that they sort of just didn't realize it was a once weekly injection. There's a little dial wheel that controls how much the injector can dispense.
That's Jordan Miller, who did the study. She says some people reason that if one dose works great, then 5 doses will be even better. Poison control centers nationwide are fielding 8,000 calls a year now, linked to the new self-administered weight loss drugs. America's pastime has become America's latest battleground over so-called pride celebrations. Most major league teams have compelled players to don pride-themed rainbow logos this month, with 3 Christian players on the San Francisco Giants, a notable exception, rebelling by adding Bible verses to their caps, drawing the ire of MLB officials. The Texas Rangers bucked the pride trend by holding a faith and family night instead. These fans sharing their thoughts with Fox Digital.
Family means everything to me. Definitely my boys, my family. I'll do anything for them.
Yes, I don't think that they should be punished for putting Bible verses on their hat whenever they're being told to put pride logos on their hat already.
I think it's about recentering on what a rainbow means. It's a promise from God that he would never flood the earth again.
The baseball versus pride debate flared up again this week when enough players on the minor league team in York, Pennsylvania refused to take the field in pride-themed gear. The team was forced to cancel and forfeit the game, though management did still opt to hold a pride-themed event that evening. Christians also keeping an eye on an upcoming vote by the Texas State Board of Education on a required reading list that includes stories from the Bible.
There are close to 400 idioms that we use every day that come from the Bible.
Mary Elizabeth Castle with the group Texas Values says that learning about the Bible helps kids understand other things, pointing to hundreds of everyday phrases with biblical origins.
Like splitting the baby or an eye for an eye, and both of those idioms, come from the Bible.
Castle says if kids don't know what's in the Bible, they're going to be missing out on big parts of culture,
which can hinder them in understanding more complex or more modern day pieces of literature.
Next week's debate's identical to 1 month ago when the Texas board approved so-called bluebonnet curriculum, which also included biblical stories. And so far, so good for the U.S. men's soccer team in their group play match against Australia this afternoon, building a 2-0 lead at halftime, despite missing star player Christian Pulisic, who's out with a leg injury suffered in the team's opening match. Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, a recap of our top regional stories and highlights from today's noon feature about Father's Day. That's coming up after Weather with Kevin.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Dad's Day weekend upon us. The weekend when summer arrives, that'll be Sunday morning, and the expectation is it'll be a pleasant weekend, mostly dry, fair skies. The only thing missing weather-wise is that something I like would be the heat. The heat's off until further notice. Temperatures will be running below normal into next week. Our call is for an isolated evening shower or thunderstorm. Otherwise, for the night tonight, mainly clear skies. It'll be comfortably cool for the overnight with low temperatures in the 50s. For Saturday and Sunday, pleasant days on balance. Sunshine, some patchy clouds mixing in. There could be a stray shower either afternoon, but again, the weekend is mainly dry and pleasant. High temperatures this weekend in the 70s.
Thanks, Kevin. Checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Some lingering power outages across New York and PA after yesterday's violent windstorms took down a lot of power lines. Crews have been working nonstop after those winds took out trees and took out power to 150,000 people in upstate New York. Those winds were impressive.
The wind, I looked out the front window and it was horizontal, just amazing. And it happened so fast.
This is when utility repair crews really earn their money.
When it's a widespread event like this, it really bogs down National Grid.
About 17,000 customers in the dark in New York at last check. Some 6,000 of those outages in Monroe County. Another 3,000 between Chautauqua and Allegheny counties. In Pennsylvania, it's down to under 2,000 customers scattered across several counties. Broome County, New York officials giving an update on that salmonella outbreak back in May that sickened hundreds of inmates. Here's the update from Family Life's Sarah Harnish.
In a press release from the Sheriff's Department this morning, authorities said, quote, they believe the worst is behind them after the salmonella outbreak at the Broome County Correctional Facility weeks ago. 0 people are now showing signs of the illness. It is believed to have originated from chicken salad, sickening 144 individuals. More than 100 were given IV treatment and 12 were hospitalized. County health officials say after an investigation, they found multiple food preparation violations at the facility. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Thank you, Sarah. New Yorkers who want to take part in early voting ahead of next week's primary are almost out of time. The early voting period that began last Saturday wraps up on Sunday. Primary day itself in New York is June 23rd. New York Governor Kathy Hochul in Brooklyn touting a program to rein in deed theft and home ownership fraud.
This is why many of us get up in the morning, to make a difference in the lives of others and let them know they matter, that they have dignity, that they have rights, they deserve this.
The governor told the story of a woman named Geraldine who waited years for a grant for a home because of fraud.
Geraldine told me that she had been waiting for 17 years on lists to try and get her own home like this. And she's done having to wait anymore. And the joy in her face of the home that she created for herself and her children was the reason we do this.
Hochul says the state has increased funding for homeowner protection programs and changed the law to give prosecutors more tools to pursue deed theft cases and intervene in disputes over home ownership. And about 400 Penn State students are shifting their graduation plans due to the closure of the university's regional campuses. Penn State officials say they're working with those students who had planned to finish their degrees without attending class at the main campus at University Park. The school's Board of Trustees approved the closure of 7 satellite locations in May of last year. All right, up next, highlights from today's Noon Report feature are Bob Price speaking with Wallet Hub's Chris Lupo about the best states for working dads ahead of Father's Day this Sunday.
Massachusetts came in number 1 this year. New Mexico was last. New York State, 14. Pennsylvania, 16 on the list. Chad, to get started, what was the criteria you used in compiling this list?
Well, Bob, what we tried to do is we tried to create a comprehensive look at states for working dads. For years, we put out studies for the best states for working moms and figured, well, because child care and child rearing has become so much of a balancing act in your traditional 2-parent households, that why not take a look at some of these same states or what the best states would be for working dads? So what we looked at, Bob, was 4 key dimensions: economic and social well-being, work-life balance, which is crucial, child care, hot topic these days, and overall health. And then there was 22 related metrics, and those run from like average workday length, child care costs, another key issue, and percentage of men in good or better health. And so we crunched the numbers, and this is 50 states and Washington, D.C. As you alluded to, New York sits at 14, and Pennsylvania at 16. Those are good, solid numbers, but if you look at the overall scope of the study, if you look at the overall results, you'll find it well into the top 20. It is dominated by the Eastern Seaboard. These northeastern states tend to have higher median annual income to be able to offset things like child care costs, health care costs.
I was shocked to see that almost 1 in 5 stay-at-home parents are dads. What are the main reasons, Chip, that dads are choosing to work from home?
Well, in a lot of cases, dads work types of jobs that can easily be transitioned to home. A lot of jobs where you can stay at home and do your Zoom calls and at the same time be there for the cable man, be there when the children come over to school and that kind of things. And I think more and more companies are kind of pushing to more of a hybrid approach where you're seeing somewhat of a shift from the COVID era where it was all work from home to more of a hybrid model.
Sure. What are some of the biggest issues facing working dads today?
Well, one of the biggest issues is child care, quality, which is key, and, of course, access. Now, what New York and Pennsylvania have in common is that you have your urban centers. You have New York, you have Buffalo, and then, of course, there's Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, but there's a lot of rural space in between those metro areas where the access is limited, the costs are higher.
I wonder what impact overall this phenomenon of dads working from home had on overall health and well-being of children.
It's a very interesting dynamic, and I think in a lot of ways it benefits children to have at least one of the parents at home. Now, we're talking about this is a summer, and if one of the spouses happens to be in education profession, you've got your summers off, and that's great to have quality time bonding with the children. One thing that I noticed, too, with particularly with the states at the bottom of the study, is that in a lot of cases, particularly in the Deep South, you still have that strong family bond where maybe you live in a house and your in-laws live across the street or your parents live in the general neighborhood, so there's this larger family connection. So in a lot of cases, there's not necessarily a need for child care. So that's why maybe some of the child care numbers are down in some of these southern states.
Yeah.
So I do think that having at least one parent at home while working, and I think that sets up a lifelong bond that's going to stay with the kids forever.
Sure. I've seen studies, too, that have shown that a lot of people are saying, hey, pay me less if you want to, but I'm going to do remote work. I know a lot of companies are being forced now to deal with that phenomenon, that a lot of the workforce now is remote, and as a company, you've got to adjust to that, don't you?
Oh, yeah, especially, and we saw what happened with the federal workforce where they're forcing them to come back in because they've got this office space that's just sitting there and taxpayer dollars are paying for it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's productivity issues. I mean, you can't keep an eye on employees all the time when they're working from home, and sometimes they kind of fudge a little bit with the workload. But the thing to keep in mind, too, when it comes to working from home, say if you're in the New York City area and you're pulling down this tremendous salary and you're working from home, said, you know what, I think maybe we want to locate to the Midwest, a little more family-friendly, a good place to raise the kids. That $700,000 salary is not going to travel with you to Bismarck, North Dakota. They're going to, and this is what they do in the military, they're going to adjust that cost of living. So we're going to go from $700,000 to, say, $300,000.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about working from home and relocating and still keeping that job, keep in mind that salary is probably going to adjust based on where you live.
Thank you, gentlemen. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
What makes a great father? It's rarely the big moments most people remember. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. With Father's Day coming up this Sunday, we're reminded that fatherhood is one of life's greatest stewardships. Psalm 103:13 says, "As a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear him." Earthly fathers have the privilege of reflecting God's heart through patience, mercy, guidance, and love. Whether it's providing, encouraging, or simply showing up day after day, those quiet acts matter more than they may ever know. And for those who carry grief or complicated memories this weekend, God sees every ache and every hope. This weekend, let's thank God for faithful fathers, encourage the dads around us, and remember the perfect love of our Father in heaven. Manage your finances wisely with the easy-to-use FaithFi app. Download FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store, or learn more at faithfi.com.
Thank you, Rob. Finally at 5, I bet you opened at least one this week.
The whole thing starts with a box.
A box?
That's the poor box.
You're out of your box.
I'm in a box.
Oh, no, not the box.
Happy International Box Day. We salute the ubiquitous cardboard container that holds things great and small. English firm M. Treverton & Son is believed to have made the first paperboard box back in 1817, while in the 1890s, Americans came up with the first corrugated cardboard boxes, thrilling cats everywhere. Today, it's a $100 billion a year plus global industry. Boxes usually are made from pine, spruce, and fir trees. About 80% of everything manufactured in the U.S. winds up in a box at some point, and 92% of those boxes are recycled and can go through that process up to 7 times. And that's the world we live in for Friday, June 19th, 2026. Thank you again for joining us. Have a blessed weekend. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.